Welcome to Jim's Table Topics, September 2019, Fake Election 2020 Underview. The Underview. You hear the overview all day long from CNN, all the fake news, 24/7. But, Trump has done a lot of good things. Yeah, he's no bargain, but let's just kind of look at some of the facts here of the election 2020 and what's really going down. We send troops to foreign countries to defend their borders, but our politicians refuse to defend ours. Yep. The deep state, that's all going to come apart. Again, Jim's Table Topics, Fake Election 2020 Underview. Good evening and welcome to the September 2019 edition of Jim's Table Topics. And yes, it is September 2019. It's just a couple of days after the Democratic primary debate they had. So that's going to be our focus of today's show. Election 2020, the understory, not the overview, no, the underview. It's going to be the underview because 24/7, that's all we hear is the liberal media saying how great all the Democrats are and how great all the Democratic policies are, but that's a classic definition of propaganda. You only get one side of the story, and they obfuscate everything. So we're going to focus on the election and see, who's on first, who's telling the truth, who's not, what are the issues, what's real, what's fake, and what's the good news, okay? So, at any rate, that's what we're going to talk about, the election and all the issues that kind of go around the election, okay? So, without further ado, as we usually do, we start out with the good news before we get into the fake news and the bad news and the news that's just not even worthy to print, but it's there anyway. Of course, they don't print the news anymore, they just slap it up online and for everyone to look at for 6 seconds. What's the 6 seconds? Boom, they read a headline, boom, it's true, we're done. They know everything. That's how it works in the new world order of social media. But, so, without further ado, we're going to go into the good news. The good news is that Jesus loves us. He came and died for our sins as prophesied in the Bible, and that the Bible is the whole story of mankind from Genesis, the beginning, to the Revelation, to the end, and everything in between. There's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad, there's a lot of a lot of information in the Bible that basically ends up becoming more true every day. Archaeological finds, historical finds, and things like that actually prove more that the Bible is correct than it is incorrect, and more accurate than we thought. But at any rate, again, that's the good news, contrary to the fake news. So with the Bible, I know that people talk about Jesus, he's loving, kind, and, he would never let all these bad things happen, and why, people are quick to blame Jesus and God for all the bad things that happen, but do we thank him for all the good stuff? Those are the things that we have to look at. It can't be a one-way street, and a lot of evil happens because, quite frankly, we have free will. And, not only does God have his angels, we have Satan and Lucifer and the demons as well. And according to the Bible, which I believe and which is true, God threw the rebellious, keep that in mind, the rebellious angels who are now the demons of Satan, Lucifer, who was the angel of light, is now demonic because he rebelled against God. God put him on the earth to crawl upon and eat the dust and death. And so Satan just roams the earth back and forth to see who he can devour. So, yeah, if you don't know that he's coming after you, then he's already got you. Okay, so that's why I put my faith and love in Jesus and God, and let him do my battles in the spiritual realm. And I just do what I can in this material realm, that flesh realm we live in. So without further ado, like I said, God, and when Jesus was here, it wasn't all peace, love, flower, and happiness, though he did. He healed the sick, he raised the dead, he did a lot of miracles as prophesied, but he also came to, you know, the Pharisees and the leaders of the day criticized Jesus for hanging around with the sinners, the prostitutes, and the drinkers, and all the bad people. But again, what the Bible says is, well, yeah, I came to heal the sick and minister to the people who need me. And these are sinners who needed to be ministered to Jesus. And he healed them not only physically, and he healed emotionally, spiritually, he was healing people. So at any rate, but he was at odds. I mean, the Bible prophesies that the government would be on his shoulders, and they were. They railed, they put him to death. They gave him the death penalty, okay? Did Jesus say, oh no, I don't believe in the death penalty? No, he took it. He took that because that was what his job was as the Savior of the world, to take the sins upon that cross. He died for our sins, my sins, and everyone's sin, past, present, and future. So he did rail against the leaders of the day. And so in Matthew chapter 23, they call it the 7 woes. It really goes, it's a little heavy, but I'll read some of the woes, okay? Woe to you. This is Matthew chapter 23. I'm going to start reading at verse 13. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites. You shut the kingdom of heaven in men's faces. You yourselves do not enter, nor will you enter, nor will you let those enter who are trying to get in. Woe to you, teachers of the law and you Pharisees, you hypocrites. You travel over land and sea to win a single convert. And when he becomes one of you, you make him twice the son of hell as you are. Woe to you, blind guides. You say, if anyone swears by the temple, it means nothing, but if they swear by the gold or the silver in the temple, he is bound by that oath. You blind fools, which is greater, the gold or the temple that makes the gold sacred? You also say, if anyone swears by the altar, it means nothing, but if they swear by the gift on it, he is bound by his oath for the gift. You blind men, which is greater, the gift or the altar that makes the gift sacred? Therefore, he who swears by the altar swears by it and everything on it. And he who swears by the temple swears by it and the one who dwells in it. And he who swears by heaven swears by God's throne and by the one who sits on it. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You give 1/10 of your spices, mint, dill, and cumin, but you have neglected the more important matters of the law, justice, mercy, and faithfulness. You should have practiced the latter without neglecting the former. You blind guides, you strain out a gnat but swallow a camel. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You clean the outside of the cup and the dish, but inside they are full of greed and self-indulgence. Blind Pharisee, you first clean the inside, and then the outside will also be clean. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You are like whitewashed tombs. You look beautiful on the outside, but on the inside are full of dead men's bones and everything unclean. In the same way, the outside you appear to people as righteous, but on the inside you are full of hypocrisy and wickedness. Woe to you, you teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You build tombs for the prophets and decorate the graves of the righteous, and you say, if we had lived in the days of our forefathers, we would not have taken part with them in the shedding of the blood of the prophets. So you testify against yourselves that you are descendants of those who murdered the prophets. Fill up then the measure of the sin of your forefathers. You snakes, you brood of vipers, how will you escape being condemned to hell? Therefore I am sending you prophets and wise men and teachers. Some of them you will kill and crucify. Others you will flog in your own synagogues and pursue them from town to town. And upon you will come all the righteous blood that has been shed on the earth, the blood of the righteous. From Abel to the blood of Zechariah son of Berechiah, who you murdered between the temple and the altar. I tell you the truth, this will all come upon this generation. O Israel, O Jerusalem, you who kill the prophets and stone those sent to you, how often have I longed to gather your children together, as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings. But you were not willing. Look, your house is left to you desolate. For I tell you, you will not see me again until the day you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. So Jesus kind of basically, in those old terms, read them the riot act, okay? And I mean, when I'm reading this, and I've thought about this for a few days, I mean, these warnings are no different than to our current leaders and and that's leaders in Washington, in Massachusetts, and our little fair cities and towns across this nation, the UN, our media, all our institutions like the media, Hollywood, and you name it. They're not leading and teaching us what we should be doing. They're taking the easy route, but that's Jesus' message for today. I had a few more things, but I'm out of time. It's amazing how that works. So maybe I'll squeeze one in. The life by the Spirit. I mean, we're living in two worlds: spiritual world and the physical world. So there's good and there's evil. So I'll just cut to the chase here. There's a list of sinful acts. The acts of the sinful nature are obvious. They are sexual immorality, impurity, and debauchery, idolatry and witchcraft, hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, dissensions, factions, and envy, drunkenness, orgies, and the like. I warn you, as I did before, that those who live like this will not inherit the kingdom of God. Okay, so I forgot to tell you I'm in Galatians chapter 5, that was verses 19 through 21. So now that's the stuff we shouldn't be doing. And so here the fruits of the Satan and the fruits of the Holy Spirit from verse 22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. Those who belong to Christ Jesus have crucified their sinful nature with its passions and desires. And since we live by the Spirit, let us keep in step with the Spirit. Let us not become conceited, provoking, and envying each other. And so that's good news for the day. God loves us. He's given us His Word, and we need to read it, learn it, and understand it, and love Him and follow Him. So again, so we're going to just go right to our main thrust of the show now, which is the election 2020, the underview. So we're going to start with this is going to be a 20-minute clip from Laura Ingraham, her show, and she kind of went through this whole her comments on the debate. So without further ado, to the tape.
I'm Laura Ingraham, and this is the Ingraham Angle from Washington this Friday night, and you're going to want to stay with us for the whole hour because we have debate recap unlike anything you've ever heard before with Mercedes Schlapp, Tom Bevan, Candace Owens, and a heck of a lot more. Plus, we have Raymond Arroyo with a special debate version of Friday Follies. I think we're going to hit Uncle Joe's chopper trouble. Kamala's lame stand-up routine. Ooh, that was a stinker. We got it all covered. Also tonight, 2 exclusives. First, a famous Hollywood actor walks away from the Democrat Party. The backlash fellow actors are giving him. Ooh, that's been swift. Isaiah Washington is here to tell us why he now supports Donald Trump. Plus, an anti-AOC, it's really an anti-socialism ad, aired during last night's debate. It tore up the internet. Well, the woman behind the ad is here to respond to AOC and all the rest of the critics. But first, the week that was. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Oh, you can kind of feel it, right? The weather's changing. Fall is right around the corner. I'm talking about the fall of the Democrats. It's been a terrible, awful week for them, capped off by a miserable 3-hour debate on ABC. First, there are signs that the Democrats will give Trump a win. They didn't want to do this, but they're going to give Trump a win, and I think they're going to allow a vote on that USMCA, the new U.S.-Mexico-Canada free trade deal. Even the Washington Post, I almost fell over when I read this, said it's a no-brainer. Bring the thing up for a vote. Second reason it's been a bad week for the Democrats, the Dow is now up around 27,000. The S&P is at 3,000. Well, that's near record territory for the Dow, up for the 8th straight day. Now, what does this indicate? Renewed optimism among consumers and businesses. And this is important toward the close of this year. The president and his team, they're still open to a trade deal with China. A tight labor market here at home, that means wages continue to see a little bit of an uptick. That's all good news. I love a tight labor market. Third, the Democrats have absolutely no answer for Trump on the economy. Instead, what we heard at last night's debate were the same tired platitudes.
We can use trade to help build a stronger economy.
What we should be doing is creating an economy that works for all of us, not 1%.
The goal of my campaign is to make this an economy that allows us to live our human values and aspirations.
We're already doing that, Andrew. In a few moments, we're going to be analyzing the Democrat debate in the only way that it makes sense, by the way, with brutal satire. But first, let me say that no one on that stage last night looked strong enough to beat Trump in 2020. I don't want to get too confident, too over my skis, to use another tired analogy. But they just did not look like they're going to be able to stand on a stage and debate this president on his accomplishments. Because the Democrat candidate leading the pack still, after all their efforts to take him down, could barely string together 2 coherent sentences.
I'm the guy that brought the Brady Bill into focus and became law. And I've been in and out of Afghanistan, not with a gun. It's 3 different countries. Pakistan owns the 3 counties. The Connies run it. I will go on and on. I'm the Vice President of the United States.
Well, he was no longer the vice president, but it felt good to say that, I'm sure. All the Democrats on stage demonstrated in one way or another that they're just simply, they're not competent to govern. Even liberals know that this isn't working. The lefty publication Slate eviscerated Biden's answer to the question on reparations. And all Slate did was merely publish Biden's incoherent answer in full. And when ABC moderators raised the issue of trade, everyone on stage except Andrew Yang was caught stumbling or responded again with meaningless bromides. They looked like they were kind of 7th graders shocked about a surprise question that their teacher dropped in on a history exam. It's like, oh, I didn't know we could ask about that. Elizabeth Warren, she says proudly that she's going to ban all fracking. Good luck winning Texas with that position, Liz. Beto's gun buyback? It's a gun ban, it's just spelled differently. Not happening. And Bernie Sanders? He just always seems angry. He kind of looks like he belongs with that Waldorf and Statler from the Muppets. Well, that's a good look. All kidding aside, this is our future. This is our lives. This is America. The money that everybody's earned, worked so hard to earn over the past few years. And do I think Americans are going to turn that all over, all those gains, to what, Elizabeth Warren and her green, raw New Deal? Or let Julian let them all in Castro throw open our country's borders? No way. Compare Trump's record of peace and prosperity to what will undoubtedly happen if one of the top Dem contenders wins. I gotta say, I don't even think it's close. People who don't know a lot about politics are sure, they're absolutely sure that Trump's personality, his tweets, and his tone, it's all gonna sink him. He's too abrasive, he's too cocky, he swings at too many pitches, blah, blah, blah. Well, all I'll say about that is a lot of people, they don't like Bill Belichick either. He's kind of gruff, he doesn't smile much. But guess what? Belichick wins and wins and wins. A lot of people do like him, especially when he wins. Well, the truth is, Obama really was a great politician. We just got to be honest about that. He was terrific, captivated a crowd. But none of the Dems running now really are. And I don't even think it's their fault. It's just not in their DNA. It's not in their skill set. So I'm thinking, what should these folks do? Well, Joe Biden should move on and maybe write his memoir, tell old yarns about his life in the Senate or growing up as a young boy. Mayor Pete, well, he can actually just go back to South Bend and try to fix the horrible crime problem there. And then Elizabeth Warren, she can go back to the sequestered life on a college campus, maybe do some DNA research. Bernie Sanders, he should just leave politics and run one of those free socialist circulars that you can get at the supermarket, rails against corrupt local politicians are always stacked up. Or maybe Julian Castro can go assist migrant families at the border. There's a lot of work to be done there. And Cory Booker, he can, I don't know, start his own vegan YouTube channel. Big business there. Amy Klobuchar, she should go be a partner at some big boring law firm and just start ordering associates around. Kamala Harris, she would be a good president at like a small liberal arts college. Or maybe she'd be a good local television anchor. I could see that. Beto O'Rourke, he should run a School of Rock franchise. He has a lot of experience in that arena. But none of them, and I mean none of them, should ever get close to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And that's the angle. The Democrat parade of idiocy last night was so spectacular, we felt compelled to bring back the Ingram Awards. Okay, joining me to present these prestigious awards and comment is Mercedes Schlapp, Senior Advisor to the Trump 2020 campaign. She's live from CPAC West in Reno, Nevada. Also here is Tom Bevan, co-founder and executive director of Real Clear Politics. All right, guys, great to see you on a Friday night. First up, okay, we're calling this the Annie Grab Your Gun Award. And it goes to Beto O'Rourke. Well, apparently he can't stand a man with a gun.
Are you proposing taking away their guns, and how would this work?
I am. If it's a weapon that was designed to kill people, hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47.
Mercedes, Beto leaned into this stereotype, unveiling the new slogan, Beto has a ban for that. He actually unveiled that. Is this going to win?
Well, it definitely won't win states like Texas, for example. And even today, speaking to several of the audience members in Nevada, they had a very serious discussion on the Second Amendment and the fact that, especially in the rural counties of Nevada and certain states like New Mexico, that they're very concerned about their Second Amendment's rights being violated. Again, there is this need to figure out how we deal with gun violence, absolutely. And the president has addressed this issue when it comes to figuring out how we deal with more extensive background checks. It's different when you're talking about taking away guns from law-abiding citizens. It absolutely violates our Second Amendment rights, and it's incredibly troubling. And while the liberal base gets very excited about this, and Beto's obviously trying to gain some points on the liberal side, I think when you look at common sense Americans, they're saying, wait a second, he's going way too far.
Now, and Tom, just really quickly on this, I'm going to get to the next award. Last year, I think, or the year before last, he gave an interview, a radio interview, where he basically contradicted everything he's saying now. So I guess we can say, in liberal land, he's evolved on this issue, but what a wild message for someone from Texas. All the stuff on the internet today was, you just try and come and take my AR-15. People were not having any of this.
Yeah, and look, there's been a lot of talk about Beto, who's probably not going to win the Democratic nomination, but going back and challenging John Cornyn for Texas. If Republicans had the slightest worry about Beto running for Senate in Texas, they're not worried anymore. He's made himself unelectable in the state of Texas.
All right, next up for the awards, the Best Schooling of a Rhodes Scholar Award goes to Julian Castro. Mayor Pete was a little shell-shocked here.
This reminds everybody of what they cannot stand about Washington. Scoring points against each other, poking at each other, and telling each other that you're my plan, your plan. Look, we all
that's
have
called a
different
Democratic
visions for
primary
what is
election.
better about
That's called an election. That's an election. You know, this is what we're here for. It's an election.
Mercedes, Mayor Pete looked like he should have been filming like a Got Milk ad or something. He just so, he's like, looks like a, schoolboy, looks very young. You guys are being mean to each other. And Castro's like, this is called politics. I'm not a big fan of Castro, but that was a good moment.
I thought it was, the exchange was intense, and for Pete to get intense, it doesn't happen too often, but he kind of mumbled his way through. And I think it's, again, these second-tier candidates that aren't really breaking through. And Pete hasn't really offered a vision, as many of these Democrats, they haven't offered a vision of how they want to move forward and help America grow, especially from the terms, as you said earlier, from an economic standpoint. So, I thought that the exchange, it was bizarre between the two of them, and, Pete's trying to take the upper hand on this, but, I think it just fell flat.
Yeah, well, and this is one of my favorite awards, and that's a high bar. All right, Tom, the most likely to conduct the Boston Philharmonic Award goes to Bernie Sanders. All right, Bernie Sanders looked like Leonard Bernstein up there. Watch.
We are spending twice as much per capita on healthcare as the Canadians or any other major country on earth.
It's America.
Yeah, but Americans don't want to pay twice as much as other countries.
Tom, he does like to do this a lot, and it's quite interesting. We're having fun with Bernie, but did he hit his peak in 2016? I mean, he's been replaced in the progressive lane, hasn't he? He's been edged out by
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, Bernie, this is the sort of, Bernie 2.0. It's just a crankier, louder version. He seems to be angry and shouting all the time. And there are different models now, newer models, fresher models, more exciting models. But Bernie is staying true to himself for what it's worth. But it's the same story every time he steps on that debate stage.
Yeah, I mean, Mercedes, he does look kind of angry all the time. I mean, people say Trump's angry. Trump's actually in a really good mood. I mean, he fights back when he's hit, but Trump's actually usually having fun. But he's like that get off my lawn guy, the Bernie.
And President Trump has a great sense of humor too, so that's the best part, one of the best parts about him. But I think for Bernie, his biggest challenge obviously is that the policies, really, he has defined that socialist branch of the Democratic Party. And there's a popularity that's grown around him and Elizabeth Warren, as we know they're splitting that vote right now. But he's taken the party to such an extreme and very much openly admitting that he wants to raise taxes on the middle class.
Yeah, but everybody's saying that now. Right.
But he's true, but he has been one of the leads on this. He's been one of the leaders on pushing the middle class tax increases and the takeover of healthcare.
As Tom said, there are new and improved models now. All right, we got to get to the next one. For one of our most coveted Ingram Awards, it's the award for the best Oprah giveaway moment. And the award goes to Andrew Yang.
My campaign will now give a freedom dividend of $1,000 a month for an entire year to 10 American families. Someone watching this at home right now.
Well, Tom, handouts are usually pretty popular with the voters. I think he won the Drudge poll. So what about this one? Is there enough cash to buy the electorate?
Yeah, this one, obviously, he's pushing the universal basic income. That's one of the primary planks of his platform. But this got panned even by fellow Democrats. They all kind of, even the ones on the stage, were kind of giggling and laughing about it. It didn't go over well among even left-leaning folks on Twitter. So I think this was kind of a fail on Andrew Yang's part. He had touted this as some big, never before seen thing that he was going to do. Didn't really come off very well for him, I didn't think.
All right, and one more. Okay, there's one more. This is come on, one more. We have time? The Pot Kettle Black Award goes to Beto O'Rourke. First, Beto made this slanderous claim about President Trump.
A racism and violence that had long been a part of America was welcomed out into the open and directed to my hometown of El Paso, Texas, where 22 people were killed dozens more grievously injured by a man carrying a weapon he should never have been able to buy in the first place, inspired to kill by our president.
Following that, he also had the gall to say this.
The bitterness, the pettiness, the smallness of the moment, the incentives to attack one another and try to make differences without distinctions, mountains out of molehills. We have to be bigger.
All right, Mercedes, real quick.
We have to be bigger. It's an outrage that Beto would attack the president and actually blame the president for the shooting. He's trying to score political points. He's going nowhere.
No,
he's
going nowhere. Should go to the School of Rock, open a franchise, and call it a day. All right, Mercedes, Tom, thanks so much. And then here to break it all down, Candace Owens, founder of the Blexit Movement and author of the forthcoming book, Blackout, and Monique Presley, attorney and Democrat strategist. Ladies, all right, 2020 Democrats, they're often, in my mind, falsely accusing President Trump of being a racist, but candidates like Buttigieg are increasingly applying that label to all Trump supporters.
Do you think that people who support President Trump and his immigration policies are racist?
Anyone who supports this is supporting racism. Racismo es sencillo.
The media took it a step further, suggesting Hillary Clinton was right to call Trump supporters deplorables.
If they're supporting what Donald Trump is doing, and if what he's doing is racism, well, then what do you say about the folks who are cheering him on?
It's a great point. Her comment about, basket of deplorables, I think she wishes she hadn't said at the time. Turns out she was dead on.
Well, listen, everyone's being now honest how they feel. I'd rather have everyone get it all out there. They want to call us deplorables? I'll wear that badge, no problem. Candace, they going too far here?
I think this is actually Einstein's definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I don't see how they could be falling into this trap again. And look, here's what they're saying. They're saying I'm a racist. I support Trump. I'm a black American. They're saying that I want to see a society come together that I can't actually live in. The problem with that is it's not only insulting to Americans, but it requires no intellectual depth. Try to actually consider what happened in 2016 and learn from what happened in 2016, but they can't because they're too arrogant.
Mayor Pete, Monique, it seems to at times be pretty have a moderate approach the way he debates and speaks, and I think he's an attractive candidate in many ways to a lot of people. That actually surprised me coming from him. Especially coming from South Bend, it's an interesting community, it's very diverse, but I never think it's a winning thing to attack Americans. Attack Trump, go at it, but attack Americans, I think that's a no-no.
He wasn't attacking Americans.
He just called them racist.
He was attacking the point of view. He said if you're supporting a racist policy, then you're a racist. If you support a policy that says go out on the street and hit every fifth person with blonde hair named Laura, you probably are a person who's out to attack every fifth person with blonde hair named Laura. What he was saying is, if you're supporting immigration policies that are racist, then you too are racist because you support racist things.
He didn't say the word policy, though.
I can't say, but you have to actually listen to the question before the answer.
I listened to the answer. He said person. If you're a person that supports Trump, not a policy.
But I could be asking you what color the sky is, or I could be asking you what color the
You're putting words in his mouth. That's not fair to me. That's not fair.
But again, this is Donald Trump today, I think it was today. Might be yesterday, I'm losing track of time, but what have said, we're on the verge of something really big with immigration. I think, Jared Kushner has like a 600-page plan that's, I think, it's on its way to Capitol, or already there, which I think is going to include, handling legal immigration, illegal immigration, trying to come together in some compromise. If that...
He's not...
Watch.
When racism exists, the question isn't who isn't a racist, it's who is and isn't doing something about racism. If I am president of the United States, we will create an office in the White House to deal with the problem of white supremacy and hate crimes.
Candace, what about that? The moonshot for Cory Booker?
I'm going to say this. Elizabeth Warren wants to be president. Bernie Sanders wants to be president. Cory Booker does not wish to be president. He is out here for fame. He's out here for moments. He's always been this person. He's a narcissist at his core. He is not to be taken seriously, and we should stop letting him have these moments. I am Spartacus in Congress. This is all about Cory Booker. He's not a serious candidate, and him even saying race force is a part of his programming. He loves attention. He loves that we're discussing him, and no one on the left or right should be taking Cory Booker seriously.
I wanted to punch President Trump in the face a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because you've met him, you know what he wants?
I've met him.
Or you have unevinced...
I'm saying
unevinced mental determination of what he wants. I've met him. I take him at his
just called him racist 5 seconds ago.
It's Cory Booker. That's where we are right now.
Your logic.
Train of thought. Cory Booker was speaking about a very real issue, which is white supremacy. All you have to do is 15 minutes from now, go down my timeline, and you'll understand the very big difference between someone who is Candace, someone who is you, and someone who right now is going to say, but are they saying get a noose?
No,
are
they're saying get cancer.
Down Main Street?
Get cancer. Hope your cancer comes back.
That's not racism, right?
It's
when they're saying back to slavery.
This makes no sense. You don't have to know somebody to come to a conclusion about what they say. You made that point clear because in the first segment you said Trump was a racist.
Know what they want.
Then why are you commenting on Trump?
I just asked if you knew him.
I'm just saying, I answered the question no, but I am allowed to comment on him.
Yeah, I didn't take back your comment. I just said it's not
I said he's not a serious candidate. We all comment on people.
That's what we do.
Tonight.
I mean, but
I comment about what people say and what they do. I don't comment about their intentions.
But hold on.
I don't comment about what they want. Because how do I know?
Literally comment on what Trump wants every time you and I do the show.
I have no idea what that man wants.
Okay.
I'm not sure he knows what
we
he wants.
can't, guys. Well, he wants peace.
Okay, and you know that because you know him.
Guys, we gotta go. He wants peace and prosperity, and that's what he's delivering. And by the way, we comment on people all the time that we haven't met. That's kind of what we do.
I actually
As do historians, they write about what they do.
It is the ultimate policy to comment on intention without knowing people. Comment on words, comment on action.
Okay, welcome back. So, what can I say? That was Laura's comments on the election 2020, the Democratic debate. Again, she made a good point there. We need to live life, not just sit there and bemoan life and complain about everything that happens. I mean, some of these issues and some of these protests and all these things that are going on aren't even, what the socialists and the Democrats focus on aren't even on the radar screen for regular Americans, because that's not where we live. See, the Democrats are living in a, in this Beto world. Let's call it the Beto world, okay? Because, you saw him get up there and he just rants and raves. I mean, in our next clip, what's his name? Tucker Carlson is going to talk about Beto, and he calls him a trustafarian, which is basically he's a trust fund baby. He's just a kid. He's a spoiled brat, and he's pontificating all this stuff and has no idea. I mean, this is why we're in so much trouble now. It's the law of unintended consequences. These people come up with all these emotional pleas, and that's what the Democrats and the socialists and the communists do. They get you wound up on all these emotional issues. Okay, from what do they got? The Second Amendment to abortion to the LGBT to the global warming and the green. The world's going to end in 12 years. Now we're down to 11, maybe. I don't know. And racism and white supremacy and everything else. Of course, I mean, Joe Biden corners the market on white supremacy. He grew up with that stuff. He was a Southern. That's what those were all his mentors and all. But he can walk it back. It's okay because he's Joe and he's a Democrat, he's a liberal socialist. It's okay. It's okay. And no matter what, and so this is what I'm talking about. The institutions keep propping up and propagandizing all this stuff that we all know is false. It's just false. And so they take these emotional issues and try to get people to overreact emotionally to these things. And yes, granted, a lot of these issues are serious, okay? We talk it's the Second Amendment issue, but you know, it's just whether, a gun is a tool like anything else in the hands of a police officer. It's a tool of peace and, you know, it's a good tool. In the hands of a criminal or a mentally unstable person, it's a bad tool. It can be used for evil. So that's the issue. It's not whether we should or shouldn't have guns. It's we need to, you know, manage the people, and, you know, we can't, we need to arrest people when they do stupid things and don't say, oh, no, that's okay, you know, he was, you know, he had a tough upbringing. No, when you break the law and you're a person of, you know, old enough to know better, as we call it, reach the age of reasoning, that's it. We have to, that's why we live in a republic, not a democracy. But again, you wouldn't know that by listening to the Democratic debate. They don't even like the Constitution. But the Constitution is the only thing that's keeping us free. I should have had one here. There was something from Thomas Jefferson I was supposed to read, but that's okay, it doesn't matter, I know it. We're supposed to do what's magnanimous. What's magnanimous is you do what's right, not go, and that was written in the Declaration of Independence, that we need men of magnanimity who would do the things that are right, irregardless of the current emotional cries of the day, because the emotions will go away. That's, you know, reason needs to set in. That's why the government should be slow to react to things. We don't want the government to react. We want them to, by the time they react, it's over. The emotion is over. But, and that's the way it used to work until the media feeds the flames of emotions and make people make stupid, bad decisions with bad information, and they get wound up into a frenzy with all this stuff. So again, you heard what you know, Laura said about all this stuff, and what the policies of the Democrats are. They don't even match what the American people are looking for. So it kind of made me think while I was going over this. I said, you know, I guess, you know, Trump's little thing is, you know, make America great again. I think the Democrats' slogan should be, let's make America Baltimore. Let's make America, you know, Chicago. Let's make America San Francisco. You know, these are the cities. Let's make Detroit. All these cities that have been run lock, stock, and barrel by Democrats for 20, 30, 40, 50 years are turned into riddled with crime, violence, and poverty. Because that's what the Democrat policies do. That's what they do. Those are the unintended consequences when you implement emotional legislation to deal with a reasoned issue. And we end up with a whole boatload of unintended consequences. And all of a sudden now we got to whip up more emotion to fix the unintended consequences. So we'll pass another 4 laws, which will create another 20 unintended consequences, and they just propagate themselves. We gotta vote these people out of office. They don't even belong in leadership. That's how bad they are. They just are bad. But we keep voting them in. Don't ask me how, don't ask me why. I don't know, because I know it's the media. They've lied to you, so how can you make a good decision if you don't have the correct information? That's the question. And it just gets worse. I mean, the educational system is teaching to our Gen Xers, the baby boomers. I know that I was taught some stuff and I said, what the heck? And then I know that the Gen Xers, or the next generation, they got more of it. And the millennials, they think socialism is good. And I don't know what the next generation is, but they're, you know, I think the next generation started in like 2002. So they're, you know, they're in high school now. I don't even know what they're going to call that generation yet. The turn of the century generation, or the, you know, the online generation. I don't know. But we need to stop and take a look at what's going on. And when you talk about election, okay, that's it. I'm done. I ran out of time. I'm running out of time all over the place. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to tape number 2. Tape number 2 is Tucker Carlson talking about issues. The red flag issue. Great idea. Another one. Boatload of unintended consequences. Let's just go to the tape. Tucker. Red flags. Yeah, here's a red flag.
Following the mass shootings last month in Dayton, Ohio and El Paso, Texas, some Democrats are pushing hard for the adoption of a federal red flag law. You may have heard the phrase. What is that exactly? Well, a red flag law would allow police to seize a person's guns without convicting or even charging that person with any crime. All they need to do is decide that that person is a threat to public safety. Beto O'Rourke is a big fan of red flag laws. He says they will dovetail perfectly with his other big policy idea, which is seizing Americans' guns outright.
Not only must we have universal background checks and red flag laws, but we've also got to do this. We've got to stop selling weapons of war. And the millions of weapons of war that are out there, we need to bring them off the streets. Get them out of our lives.
Okay, so that kid's an annoying Trustafarian idiot. But just because he said it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It turns out a lot of Republicans are now saying they are open to red flag laws. They're upset about mass shootings. Everybody is. Everyone's looking for a way to prevent them. But a red flag law is the answer. If government can simply take away your constitutional rights by deciding you're dangerous and not proving it, then how are they constitutional rights in the first place? And if red flag laws require no criminal charges at all, what will protect you from being abused for political reasons? Last week in San Francisco, the city's Board of Supervisors, remember, designated the NRA and its 5 million members, quote, a domestic terror organization. You think authorities in San Francisco are going to do much to make certain your rights are protected? You think authorities in any big city will? Where's this going exactly? It's worth asking those questions. Dana Lash is an author and nationally syndicated radio host. She's thought a lot about red flag laws. She joins us tonight. Dana, thanks a lot for coming on. So, this is one of those ideas, it's new. If you hear part of it, it kind of makes sense. You can sort of tell who the crazy people are. We think we can anyway. And some of them have guns, and that's obviously bad. And so why don't we just take the guns away? If you summarize it that way, a lot of people support red flag laws, including a lot of Republicans. You say it's worth thinking through the consequences. What are those consequences?
Well, Tucker, those consequences are great indeed, and it's not just San Francisco. There are even elected members of our House of Representatives that have referred to law-abiding gun owners as, and I quote, domestic terrorists. And these are the individuals that would be implementing this red flag system. First off, the red flag proposals, and I've read the language of the laws in the 17 states that have passed these, including the District of Columbia as well. It's all an inversion of our due process, where you are presumed guilty, and then later on, maybe I think in Indiana, on average, it's about 9 months. You have your day in court, and you can try to get your property back and clear your name if you have been falsely accused. It is an absolute removal of a cornerstone of our republic, and if Republicans right now under the Trump administration, if they support this, Tucker, if they support this, and if they go in with the universal background checks and everything else, they will have done more than Barack Obama when he was president to undermine our Second Amendment rights. Is that what they want their legacy to be?
You never go broke underestimating the dumbness of some elected Republicans, particularly in the Senate. But this seems like going pretty far. You think it's possible that you will get on the record Republicans supporting this?
I think so. I mean, there are a number already that have indicated that they will. I mean, Lindsey Graham says that he supports red flag laws. We also have elected officials like Dan Crenshaw who said he's open to the idea of discussing them. And so there's a lot of concern here. What people need to realize is that the way that red flag laws work and the way that they've already been outlined in 17 states is that, and the states differ as to who and how many and how close they are to you, who can petition, who can report you. But in some states, pretty much any Tom, Dick, and Harry can report you and say that they think you're dangerous and that you have firearms, and then law enforcement they're not required to give advance notice. You're talking about serving, no-knock warrants and all of this other stuff. This kind of goes along with that. They can show up, no advance warning. In fact, in Maryland, there was a man killed, Tucker, Gary Willis, a 61-year-old man who was killed when law enforcement showed up at his home before sunrise, knocking on his door, demanding to take his property. He had no idea what was going on. And see, these laws put law enforcement enforcement in a very uncomfortable spot, which is why a lot of sheriffs in a lot of different states are saying that they will not uphold these red flag laws also. But we have to think of these consequences. First off, it's dangerous. Secondly, due process is inverted. In many instances, people who are accused, they are, I mean, like I said, Indiana, the law stipulated a 14-day waiting period, but that's on average 9 months. You assume the court costs for clearing your name. There's a Florida man right now named Jonathan Carpenter, whose name was similar to that of a criminal. And even though they know it's not the same person, he still, Tucker, has to go through the court system, pay a lot of money, clear his name to get his property back. We are not thinking of the consequences.
No, we're not. We're not. And we're also not remembering that for the left, this is not about public safety or reducing violence, please. This is about power. Right. Let's not lie to ourselves. Dana, great to see you tonight. Thank you.
Good to see you, Tucker. Thank you.
Andrew Pollack has thought a lot about firearms. He is unfortunately the father of Parkland shooting victim Meadow Pollack. He has a new book out called Why Meadow Died, the People and Policies That Created the Parkland Shooter and Endanger America's Students. He joins us.
Okay, welcome back. So there you have it, folks. That is the red flag issue, pretty well, defined. Again, we're going to have, political driven, agenda driven, issue driven zealots, socialist zealots, zealots, who are going to run around and have no business knowing anyone, and they're going to say, I thought I heard him say something that was very scary to me. If he's got guns, you better take them. And then they're gone. That just violates every sense of decency, of any sense of normalcy. It violates the constitutional rights of, as they said, we're supposed to be presumed innocence. You can't just, and they're going to just come in and take your personal property, and there's no recourse. I'm not hearing anything. I mean, quite frankly, this is what I'm talking about, unintended consequences. You got anybody can just say anything as long, they said something that's hurtful, take their guns, and they come and take them, and now all these law-abiding citizens, well, I hope we start with all the gangbangers and all the guns they got. I hope all you who live in Baltimore and Chicago and everyone, you see your little gangbangers on, oh, he's got a gun, why don't you go get him? Yeah, right, okay. Yeah, no, we ain't get, we can't talk about that, but, you want to go get regular American citizens who are just exercising their Second Amendment rights? And again, if we were the problem, you'd know it, because, there's millions of registered, in fact, in 2014, there was 14.5 million hunting licenses issued, okay? So there's 14 million, at least that was 2014, Lord knows what the number is now, okay? And Lord knows how much ammunition people have with their guns. So, if we were the problem, you know it. We're not. It's the illegal gun owners and the people who are mentally unstable, and we should know that. In fact, the shooter in El Paso, Texas, was mentally unstable, and his mother told the police, and they didn't do anything. What, you need a law to do something? But you could at least monitor and see what's going on. You don't need a law to do what's right, do you? Apparently. You just got to do what's right. I mean, we have to add that. I mean, discretion is the better part of valor. Is there any valor left? Do we know who, we're supposed to have juries of our peers. People should know who you are. Come and accuse people of something, you don't even know them. We're all different. And we all have different gifts and talents from God, and we all have different gifts and talents that we use in our communities, in our jobs, in our families, and that's what we do. Why are we bothering regular American citizens when we're being invaded by illegal aliens that are creating all sorts of havoc? Now you want to give them licenses in Massachusetts? It's crazy. And I'll go to jail if I drive without a license, but they can, if they get caught, the judges are helping them get away. And that was the one good thing that Dana Loesch and Tucker Carlson brought up about the red flag laws, is that constitutionally and everything else, it's the sheriff is the one, and the county sheriffs are the one who is supposed to be calling the jurisdiction as to, whether the state can come in and take people from the county. The sheriff, that's that's how it used to be in the, like, because ours is based on common law and the way it was run in England, because there's the sheriff of Nottingham County, right? Up there in England with the what's his name there, Robin Hood. But at any rate, that's the model. And so the sheriff was the one who called the shots. And so he would say, no, we know this guy, he's one of ours, and he's okay. He's, you know, you can't arrest him. You feds stay out. You state people stay out. This is, you know, that's discretion, that's valor. You know, these zero tolerance policies, you know, you just arrest everyone and then force everyone to go through them when you know that they don't need it. I mean, it's just contrary to common sense and human decency. But at any rate, when you look at Beto, that's all he wants to do. He's up there whipping up a frenzy. Yeah, I'm going to come and take all your guns. Yeah, we're going to confiscate them all. So there you have it. Yeah. He says, yeah, your AR-15s, but he also said, if anything that's made to kill people, well, I think a gun is made to kill people. Oh, well, actually it's made to hunt and do a bunch of other things, but yeah, it can be used to kill people, so that's all they're going to say. It was made to kill people, so we have to take them all, every last one of them. But they'll only come after the law-abiding citizens. Why don't you start in the crime-ridden gang violence areas? Go there first before you come to see us, okay? Lord have mercy. So, at any rate, the media is just, you know, blowing everything out of proportion. They get everybody all emotionally wound up and charged up to make stupid decisions and overreact. They can't say anything good about Trump, and they can't say anything bad about any Democrat. So there you go, people. That's what we call propaganda. That's what we call, you know, just plain old bias. It's worse than bias because they're lying. They're not even, they obfuscate, which basically means they don't tell you half the stuff that you need to know. Like, all of a sudden, what happened? The Russian collusion has gone off the radar screen? Well, that's because the deep state who drove the Russian collusion is now being investigated by the investigators, and there's, you know, Comey and all those other big wigs, Mueller, and there was a couple other ones, I can't remember their names, I've read them a million times, blah, blah, blah. Does anybody in Washington ever get arrested? They put people in jail, Trump's friends in jail for lying to the feds when they didn't even really lie, and they already got it on tape. They've already admitted that they didn't really lie. And they were browbeating that if you don't say something bad about Trump, we're going to put you in jail, and that's what they did. Does that sound right to you? But that's what they, and so they should go to jail, because a cop is doing that. The FBI, we got our top people doing that. That's just bad. I don't know how to undo it. I don't know how to stop it, but we got to start with our leaders. And between Liz Warren and Ed Markey and the other 9 socialist Democrats we got for congressmen down there that just go with the flow of this polarization and hateful speech and all this other stupidity, they gotta go. We can't keep voting these people in. They're ruining the country. There may not be anything left for the kids and grandkids. That's why I do the show. I just want to let you know. I'm ringing the bell. I'm the town crier. You really should watch what these guys are telling you and put it up against reality, because it's not true. So with that, I'm out of time, so we're going to have to just call it. This is September 2019, 2020, and the list goes on. The issues are just going to get stupider and stupider. Global warming, I didn't even get to it. Yeah, maybe I got, yeah. Trump got us out of the Accord in Spain, and it was the worst thing in the world. But you know what? I can't read this whole thing. It's pretty intensive, but basically there are how many countries? 8 countries. 9 countries, 8 countries. Between these 8 countries, there are 5,615 coal power plants, coal-fired power plants and big polluters, okay? 5,000. And so America has to stop everything and get on its knees. And do you know how many coal-fired power plants we have in America? Ding dong, we got 15. So there's 5,600 out there, 5,600, and we got 15. And so, you know what? When those other 8 countries get down into a double digit, maybe we can start worrying about it. But when China has 3,000 and India has, where are they? They got 1,000, and everyone else, the other countries have 500, 400, 380, 435. We got 15. That's, it's pathetic. That's what I'm talking about. The fake news doesn't even come close to the truth of the reality. They just want the world's going to end in 12 years. Oh, but this show's ending right now. Good night. We'll see you in October. I'm sure there'll be a lot more I can't talk about because I'll run out of time. It's tough trying to keep up. They lie 24/7. I only got 60 minutes. Good night. Okay, thanks for watching Jim's Table Topics 2019 fake election. 2020, the end of you. Yep, Danvers did support. There were 7,800 people that voted for Trump in Danvers. 7,000. We are one American family. We hurt together, we struggle together, and we believe and endure together. And there's the First Lady we don't see much of because the fake news, I don't think they know she exists. They don't know she exists. And again, we send our troops, but thanks again for watching. And it's going to be an interesting year for 2020 election. It just never ends. The end of you.